Welcome back to Aspire for Me. I'm Jesse, and this is Kim, and we've made it to another Frugal Friday. Kim, what book are we reading and what chapter are we in?
We are reading The Art of Frugal Hedonism by Annie Razor Rowland and Adam Grubb, and we're on chapter 22, which is Remember the World of 1950's Sci-Fi.
I'm nowhere sure where we're going with this one, but okay, let's hear it.
Sometimes your authors like to think of frugality as a way for everyone to get what was once the expected result of mechanization and labor-saving devices: more leisure time. For much of last century, people were very optimistic about this. It did seem likely, given the appearance on the scene of some nifty inventions which simplified daily tasks and increased comfort. Electric lights, vacuum cleaners, quick-dry stretch textiles. Surely, thought humanity, we will now cease to ruin our eyes sewing by candlelight, reclaim those hours once spent pushing brooms around, and move about like gazelles in our light, flexible clothing. Instead, there eventuated the paradox where we made doing stuff easier and faster and then just developed ever-escalating standards of normalized consumption expectations, and more industries to cater to them. And that meant we had just as much work to do as ever. Consuming less enables not only you, but your fellow humans to work less. Imagine that when you buy a washing machine, what a fabulous invention, you buy a good quality one that lasts. You look after it, only wash your clothes when they are actually dirty, only use it when you have a full load, and use minimal eco-friendly detergent. You've not only saved yourself money, but you've reduced the labor load of the people who mine the component materials, make, sell, and distribute washing machines. You've also shaved some time off the working day for the people at the wastewater treatment plant, those doing environmental cleanup of ocean pollution problems, and those who dispose of white goods at the landfill site. Imagine this effect magnified via all your consumption choices. And if the people working in those industries were also consuming more frugally, it wouldn't matter that there was less work to be done sum total, because they wouldn't need to work so much either. Unlike the smoggy Blade Runner-esque cityscapes anticipated by the sci-fi of the 80s, 50s sci-fi veered more towards visions of verdant hills dotted with transparent pod dwellings under a crystal blue sky. Here again, doing less work can help us redirect back towards our utopian ideals. Data indicates that households with higher work hours have higher carbon footprints. Being time-stressed makes people behave in a more carbon-intensive way. Traveling faster, eating out more, doing more convenience shopping. Countries with higher work hours have higher carbon footprints too, because of the time-stressed households that comprise them and because more economic activity demands more resource use. Just like ecological health, human health gets gradually eroded by keeping our noses glued too firmly to the grindstone. And heaven knows your 1950s sci-fi utopia white tube suit won't look half as fetching with anxiety lines etched into your forehead, or type 2 diabetes giving you foot gangrene. Long work hours are associated with elevated stress, now acknowledged to be so bad for our bodies and minds that prominent clinical investigator George P. Cronus estimates that it likely accounts for more than half of the U.S.'s healthcare-related expenses. The Japanese, notorious for their culture's intense work ethic, even have a word for death by overwork: karoshi. Back in 1914, Henry Ford figured out that the more hours the better legacy of the Industrial Revolution was actually damaging productivity in his car manufacturing plants. He slashed working hours, and dazzled by the profitable results, the rest of the industry followed suit. Modern productivity researchers continue to confirm Ford's findings. They implore their corporate clients to ensure that employees take frequent breaks, use up allocated holidays, and don't take work home, all for the sake of productivity. Strangely, no one seems as inclined to listen anymore. Work hours have been climbing steadily in most English-speaking countries since the 1970s. Weekends are an endangered concept, and 55-hour weeks plus unpaid overtime are the norm in many professions. Many European countries have taken a stand against such all-consuming work weeks. An average worker in Germany or the Netherlands, for example, works a whopping 400 fewer hours per year than their American counterpart. That's like getting 10 standard working weeks of extra holiday time. Despite this, Germany manages to be the fourth largest economy in the world. So, if it's not even the best way to get work done and it's leading society away from our most utopian visions for our health, lifestyle, and environment, why are we going along with this work-mad trend so meekly? Why aren't we all scratching our heads and saying, hold on a minute, I think I'd like the version where the machines have us doing less work, please? Such a big question rarely has a single answer. One culprit is surely this culture we've created that equates having an insignificant work life with being a bit of a loser. This certainly seems a bad scene. When it comes to status, our glitchy psyches have a tendency to endlessly up the ante, meaning it becomes almost impossible to ever feel content with what we've achieved. So we strive and produce without stopping to consider how necessary the products of our strivings really are. Another factor may be those murky machinations of the powers that be. Some cultural commentators think that since a population whose lives are dominated by work is more docile, governments tend to gear policy towards this end, consciously or not, and that the corporation CEOs with whom our political leaders play golf have a similar agenda. As popular blogger David Kane puts it, keeping free time scarce means people pay a lot more for convenience, gratification, and any other relief they can buy. It keeps them watching television and its commercials. And then, of course, there is the economy. That heffalump is perhaps the most oft-cited reason for why we need to keep creating jobs, working them, and shopping, whether or not there is work that needs to be done or things we need to buy. The problem here is that the economy requests the absurd, endless growth on a planet of finite resources. Yes, the economy would suffer if we all started working less. Even the drop in hospital visits for stress-fueled diseases would register negatively with the GDP, as would the reduction in resources mined to keep office lights and photocopiers humming around the clock. The point is, economic activity is fatally flawed as the measure of human success and happiness in the first place. So let's not shape our attitude to work around its needs. Let's shape it around how much work actually needs doing to keep us supplied with a few simple comforts, i.e. the kind that seemed luxurious only 70 years ago. Hello 1950s dream of people lounging around in gardens, sipping drinks, chilled by those fabulous newfangled refrigerator things, wearing soft fabrics and reading philosophy while playing footsies. Sorry, no robot housemaid.
Well, that's a bit of a long one there.
Yeah, it was. Had a lot of good information in it.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, and I think it had some interesting thought processes to the whole work from home stuff that's going on right now, and how I think, industries are even going a different direction than they were 6-8 months ago, with letting people work from home. And I know that being a general manager, the thought was you send people to work from home, they're going to goof off more and not get as much done. And it's interesting to see that the industry is really finding that people are getting more done. They're working more hours. They're working when they would have been commuting, especially people who are paid salary jobs instead of hourly jobs. And they're actually getting more accomplished from these employees. Now, it doesn't mean it's good for the employees, because the employees are working longer hours and possibly getting burnt out even more. But I think our economy and our work plans and practices are ever changing. And it's interesting to think how at one point, back when Mr. Ford decided, hey, let's try to work less and see if we can be just as productive, if that'll work, and it worked. But then somehow we forgot that. I don't know if it happened when Ford died or what, but it died with him. But it seems like that practice has kind of gone away. So how do we get back to it?
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? So the sentence that sort of hit me the most impactfully is, the problem here is that the economy requests the absurd, endless growth on a planet of finite resources. And I think, at this stage, if you've been tuning into our Frugal Fridays and our daily doses, you know that this planet is something that's pretty important to me, and the fact that there are finite resources and we just keep gobbling them up as a civilization. And I think one finite resource that we don't think about that isn't necessarily part of the planet, so to speak, but is part of each of our lives is our time. And I just had a conversation with one of my friends about this and how, money is something that you can earn. You can work hard, you can earn it. But to earn money, you often have to give up your time. And time is something that you can't get back, and it's something that's not renewable, and it's something that you only have a finite amount of. And so I think we all get kind of swept up into this worker mode and mentality where we become these cogs in the wheel of the civilization that has been created around us, and we sacrifice our time to that wheel. And I think what this is asking us to do is to kind of take a step back and think, how do I want to be contributing to this civilization? And if I'm buying less and consuming less and doing less and taking less, then I'm not only required to earn less, but other people are also required to earn less. And if all of us kind of scaled back and thought about things differently, which I do think, to your point, the pandemic has helped us do, then maybe we can create a different world where the time that we have on this planet isn't being spent just consuming and earning and buying and selling and working, but instead we can do some of the things that really make a difference to us or to others, or things that we find really meaningful or rewarding, and do those things instead. And maybe if you do those things at a place where they pay you money, that's great. But if that's not the case, maybe you can find ways to incorporate more uses for your time than just kind of giving to the economy and this giant wheel of capitalism that we're all on.
Yeah. I think that is, I guess, the good point too, though, or a good point that maybe you didn't realize you're making, is that we each have our own choice in what we want to spend our time doing, to a degree, right? We can't all just decide we want to go lay on a beach and not ever work, but we do have a choice to build ourselves a life that can get us less things and more time to ourselves and more time to do stuff that brings us joy instead of things to bring us joy. So thus we need to buy less, which would mean that we need to earn less, which would mean we need to work less, right? So I think as long as people are thinking frugally and they're listening to things like this, and we appreciate you guys all listening and watching and commenting and spreading the word, and sharing these with other people, and hopefully with you guys and with us, and we can all kind of share that frugality mindset and get people to stop just giving away their time, and instead find ways to find joy in what you can do, and work less. Because I think a lot of people find a lot of stress in work and a lot of stress in life and don't even realize that they have an option to change that and not have to do that. So let's go ahead and show them that that's an option. So,
and ironically, we are both at the end of very long work days where we have been part of building up the economy.
That is true. We
and
both
I think
worked very long.
This could be a good wrap.
All right. Well, that is fair. So thank you for watching. Bit of a long video today, but I think it was an interesting one. So if you've made it to the end here, put a turkey in the chat and we'll know that you watched all the way to the end.
Oh.
All right.
It's very seasonal.
Yes, I was hoping for something like that.
Yeah, very seasonal.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later. See you in the next video.
Bye.